Well, hello everybody all around the world. I'm still in time zone GMT -7, that is in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. It is time for a bookish video finally on the strip. Yes, it is. And yesterday I visited Powell's on West Burnside here in downtown Portland, the largest independent bookstore not only in Portland and probably not only in Oregon, the country and the continent, and maybe even in the whole wide world. That's what they claim, at least, what they say. If you have never been here, and Powell's alone, I think it makes a visit to Portland worthwhile. They claim to have 1 million books under their roof in a store that is spread over a whole block of streets down in downtown Portland. And no, this video is not at all sponsored by this book company. I strolled along the shelves yesterday, looked at staff recommendations, at other books, and I discovered a bunch of them, a bunch of titles, very interesting books, I think, that had not been on my radar before. Some of them, actually, I gladly found already in the store of my audiobook provider in Sweden, and I added them to my digital shelf that I will be using in the next coming weeks already. What I will present is a mixture, is a blend of books with focus on short stories, on the Asian American life experience, and on the Pacific Northwest, where I currently am. So are you ready? Then get yourself a pen and pin down the 14 titles that now are on my radar after a 2.5-hour visit to downtown Portland last afternoon to Powell's. And here we go. The first book is called Incurable Graphomania by Anna Krivolapova. Stories, short stories published by Apocalypse Confidential, an indie book publisher in September of 2023. An animal control officer stumbles upon a puppy mill racketeering ring run by ex-CIS Mats. A pharmacist in Tom's River takes liberties with patient information. A spaced-out Ukrainian refugee finds her fangs. A couple fight on Embassy Row. An incarcerated woman meditates on pitcher plants. Two dystopias set in different years, in 2044 and in 2066. 14 stories of voyeurism, of paranoia, of defense contractors, Russian stewardesses, venomous wasps, and more. We continue with another set of short stories. This one is delivered by Ghassan Zaineddine, and his short collection is called Dearborn, published by Tin House Books on September 4, 2023, spanning over several decades. Ghassan Zaineddine's debut collection examines the diverse range and complexities of the Arab American community in Michigan, in the state of Michigan, in Dearborn in Michigan, actually. In 10 tragicomic stories, Zaineddine explores themes of identity, generational conflicts, war trauma, migration, sexuality, queerness, home and belonging, and more. Next one is a novel, Tian Man Square by Lai Wen, published by Swift Press on June 4 this year, a couple of weeks ago only. This book is, of course, dealing with China. The Tian Man Square is in Beijing, in China, and this book plays in the 70s in the Chinese capital of Beijing, and Lai lives with her parents, her grandmother, and her younger brother in a small flat in a working-class environment in the Chinese capital, and things are happening in her country. As she grows up, Lai comes to discern the realities of the country she lives in. An early encounter with the police that she has haunts her for years to come. Her father makes her see that his quietness is a reaction to experiences that he has lived through many years, and an old bookseller subtly introduces her to ideas and novels that open her mind to different perspectives. Sounds very interesting. She's a gifted student. She is eventually given a scholarship to study at the prestigious Peking University. While there, she meets new friends and starts to get involved in the student protests that have been gathering speed. It is the late 1980s, and change is in the air in China and in Beijing, but bad things are going to be happening very, very soon. A novel about the hope and idealism of a generation of young students, their heroism heroism, of course, and courage, and the price that some of them had to pay. The Liberators by E.J. Coe, published by Tin House Books on November 7 last year, is the fourth title here. This is Daejeon, South Korea, 1980. At 24, In-suk falls in love with her college classmate Sungo, and with her father's blessing, they marry. But then, as the military dictatorship, martial law, and nationwide protests bring the country precariously to the edge, In-suk's father disappears. In the wake of his disappearance, In-suk flees to California with Sungo, the son Henry, and Sungo's overbearing mother. Adrift in a new country, In-suk grieves the loss of her past and divided homeland, only to find herself drawn into an illicit affair that sets into motion dramatic events that will echo for generations to come. I was glad when I found out that the Canadian writer and Giller Prize winner, Elizabeth A., is out with a new book. I loved her late nights on air that she gave us a couple of years ago. Her new book is Snow Road Station, published in Canada in 2023 and the US in August this year. And the winner of 2008 is Snow Falls Without Interruption. An actor in a Beckett play blanks on her lines. Fleeing the theater, she beats a retreat to Snow Road Station, a barely discernible dot on the map of Ontario. Lulu Blake, sexy and seemingly unfooled, is now in her 60s. Out of work, humiliated, she enters the last act of her life, wondering what she can make of her diminished self. She believes she's through with theater and drama, but drama is not through with her. One of my favorite books of 2022 was Zori by Laird Hunt. In February, he published a new short story collection called Float Up, Sing Down, and was published by Bloomsbury. And here it goes. It's about Candy Wilson, among others. Candy Wilson has forgotten to buy the paprika. Turner Davis needs to get his zinnias in. Della Dorna told her mother she was going to the Galaxy Swirl, but that's not where she's really heading on her new Schwinn 5-speed. Float Up, Sing Down is the story of a single day. Each of the 14 stories of Float Up, Sing Down follows one character's day in the life in one of Hunt's most beloved landscapes. And yes, he takes us back to Zori County in that book, or Zori Country in that book. Dead in Long Beach, California by Venita Blackburn, published by MCD in January 2024. Coral is the first person to discover her brother Jay's dead body in the wake of his suicide. There's no note, only a drably furnished bachelor pad in Long Beach, California, and a cell phone with a handful of numbers in it. Coral pockets the phone, and then she starts responding to texts as her dead brother. This is a form-shifting and soul-crunching chronicle of grief and crisis, and Venita Blackburn's debut novel, Dead in Long Beach, California, is a fleet-footed marvel of self-discovery and storytelling that explores the depths of humankind's capacity for harm and healing. From the Pacific Northwest, Wolfish, Wolf Self and the Stories We Tell About Fear by Erica Berry, who's actually living here in Portland, published by Flatiron Books in January last year. At the center of this lyrical inquiry is the legendary OR7 wolf, who roams away from his familiar pack in northwestern Oregon. While charting OR7's record-breaking journey out of the Wallowa Mountains, Erica simultaneously details her own coming of age as she moves away from home and wrestles with inherited beliefs about fear, danger, femininity, and the body. Wolfish is for anybody trying to navigate a world that is often scary, a powerful, timeless, and necessary book for our current and for future generations to come. Sleeping Giants by Renee Denfeld is another Portland book, here by a Portland author, published by Harper in March in 2024. 20 years ago, a 9-year-old boy was swept away by powerful waves on a remote Oregon beach, his body lost to the sea. Only a stone memorial remains to mark his tragic death. For most of her life, Amanda Dufresne had no idea she had an older brother named Dennis Owens, or that he had died. Adopted as a baby, she learned about him while looking into her late birth mother, and is curious to know more about this lost sibling. A solitary young woman, Amanda has always felt distanced from the world around her. Her brain works differently, leaving her feelings set apart. Her one true companion is the orphan polar bear she cares for working at the zoo. By getting to know her birth family, she hopes to understand more about herself. Retired police officer Larry Palmer comes in. He's a widower with nothing but time and in need of a purpose. He offers to help Amanda find answers. The search leads to shocking and heartbreaking discoveries. Dennis Owen had been a forgotten child himself, abandoned to a home for disturbed boys off the coast. As Amanda and Larry dig deeper into the past, the two stumble upon decades of cruelty and hidden crimes, including a barbaric treatment still used today. And Then She Fell by Alicia Elliott, published by Allen and Unwin in September 23. Alice is a member of the Mohawk Nation and very nicely settled in life until she finds herself hearing voices she can't explain and speaking with things that should not be talking back to her, all while her neighbor's passive aggression begins to morph into something far more threatening. Sounds interesting, a book of a Native American writer. A Great Country. Isn't that a great country? And the book is called A Great Country by Shilpi Somaya Govda, published by Mariner Books in March 2024. This is the next title on the list. This plays in Pacific Hills, California. Gated communities, ocean views, well-tended lawns, serene pools, and now the new home of the Shaw family. For the Shaw parents who came to America 20 years earlier with little more than an education and their new marriage, I have to wait a minute. A new marriage, it's the culmination of hard work and dreaming to be here. For the children, life is not so simple. For the most part, these differences among the 5 members of the Shaw family are minor irritants, arguments between parents and children, older and younger siblings. But one Saturday night, the 12-year-old boy is arrested of the family. The fallout from that event will shake each family member's perception of themselves as individuals and as community members and as Americans, and will lead each to consider, how do we define success? The End of August by Yumiri, published by Riverhead in August last year. In the 1930s, Japanese-occupied Korea, Li Wuchao was a running prodigy and a contender for the upcoming Tokyo Olympic Games. But he would have had to run under the Japanese flag. Nearly a century later, his granddaughter is living in Japan and training to run a marathon herself. She summons Korean shamans to hold an intense transcendental ritual to connect with Li Wuchao. When his ghost appears, alongside those of his brother Li Wugun and their young neighbor, who was forced to become a comfort woman to Japanese soldiers stationed in China during World War II, she must uncover their stories to free their souls. What she discovers is at the heart of this sweeping and majestic novel about a family enduring betrayal, war, love, political upheaval, and ghosts, both vengeful and wistful. Neighbors and Other Stories by Diane Oliver's the third short story collection, published in February by Grove Press here in America. A remarkable talent far ahead of her time. Diane Oliver died in an accident in 1966, only 22 years old, leaving behind this crisply told and often chilling tales that explore race and racism in the 1950s and 1960s. In this first and only collection by a masterful young storyteller, finally taken her rightful place in the canon, Oliver's insightful stories reverberate into this present day. These are incisive and intimate portraits of African American families and everyday moments of anxiety and crisis that look at how they use agency to navigate their predicaments. As much a social and a historical document of its time, it is a taut, engrossing collection. Neighbors is an exceptional literary feat from a crucial, once-lost figure of letters. And the final and last book in my collection that I sort of curated for this video is a memoir. It's called Meet Me Tonight in Atlantic City, quote from Bruce Springsteen's song actually. A memoir by Jane Wang, published by Tin House Books in May last year. This is an Asian American memoir. In the late 1980s on the Jersey Shore, Jane Wang watches her mother shake hands from an MSG bin behind the family's Chinese restaurant. She is a hungry daughter frying crab rangoon for lunch, a child sneaking naps on bags of rice, a playful sister scheming to trap her brother in the freezer before he traps her first. Jane is part of a family staking their claim to the American dream, even as this dream crumbles. Beneath Atlantic City's promise lies her father's gambling addiction, an addiction that causes him to disappear for days and finally is going to lead to the loss of the restaurant. Meet Me Tonight in Atlantic City is a resounding love song of the Asian American working class, a portrait of how we become who we are, and a story of lyric wisdom to hold and to share. And it was a contender. I think it even won an award at the Pacific Northwest Literary Awards in 2024. These are 14 books, and I hope that you like them, that you are interested in them. Maybe you have read one of them, then please leave me a comment down below. Slap a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye.